The harvest.
Africa.
Good afternoon, Africa. This is Imene Nouad with the latest news from across the continent and the world. Algeria concludes the 12th high-level seminar on peace and security in Africa with Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf praising substantial and high-level participation. Attaf highlights the growing international interest in the Oran process, noting the first-ever presence of newly elected non-African UN Security Council members, that is, including Bahrain, Colombia and Latvia. Attaf says the seminar sheds light on major security and political challenges facing Africa, including unconstitutional changes of government, terrorism and foreign interference. During the closing ceremony of the same event, Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Community Abroad and African Affairs Ahmed Attaf underlines that the continent is facing underlinked risks requiring collective responsibility and renewed vigilance. He welcomes the discussion, pointing to the necessity of repositioning the African Union as a central actor in preventing crisis and resolving conflict. Algeria, he says, is proud to lead efforts aimed at unifying Africa's voice within the UN Security Council and the global multilateral institutions. The AfriPol continues the sixth meeting of heads of states of the National Legion offices in Algiers, gathering representatives from all 55 AU members states. The forum works to enhance police cooperation, streamline information sharing, and strengthening joint responses to terrorism and organized crime. Delegates assess current initiatives and propose practical measures to reinforce Africa-wide law enforcement capacities. After the closure of the International Conference on Colonial Crimes in Africa, the African experts finalized the Algiers Declaration, recognizing colonialism as a crime against humanity and calling for a continental reparation framework. The text addresses economic exploitation, cultural destruction, and long-lasting trauma, and seeks a unified and united African stance in demanding accountability from former colonial powers. It will be submitted to the African Union Summit in February 2026. More details with Widad Alawa.
Africa is moving from reflection to tangible action. Marked today by the announcement of the Algiers Declaration, this landmark document introduces significant and forward-looking measures aimed at advancing reparations and restoring African ownership over the documentation of colonial crimes. The declaration calls for the establishment of a unified continental framework to pursue reparations, including the return of stolen cultural heritage and legal mechanisms to address the historical injustices committed by colonial powers. Speaking under the theme Justice for Africans and People of African Descent Through Reparations, AU Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security Bankole Adeoye stressed that the outcomes achieved in Algiers must not remain symbolic. He says they should instead guide Africa's policy priorities and help shape the continent's future security architecture.
Working in the spirit of Pan-African solidarity and cooperation, the Algiers outcomes must inform and even reshape our policy and diplomatic agenda going forward. Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, is a pathway to chart a new era for stronger continental unity, as well as to make our people more agile and more resilient. This conference has given us practical expression to the African Union theme of the year 2025. Justice for all Africans and people of African descent through reparations. By examining colonialism's human, cultural, economic, and environmental impact, and by exploring legal and institutional pathways for redress, participants have also been able to deepen collectively and advance the theme beyond all expectation.
The declaration carries important and even revolutionary resolutions on reparations and restoring African sovereignty over the documentation of colonial crimes, calling on African states to move from acknowledgement to a new era of continental sovereignty.
Over 100 Moroccan organizations condemn tightening restrictions on online freedom of expression, accusing authorities of using regulatory bodies and legal tools to control independent voices. They stress that the National Press Council has no authority to regulate digital publishing and call for ending persecutions targeting youth for peaceful online activity. The ATTAC Morocco highlights increased political repression, pointing to trials of journalists, artists, and protesters alongside heavy crackdown on street demonstrations. The group calls for the release of all prisoners of conscience, including Hirak Rif detainees, journalist Aida Al-Almi, and lawyer Mohamed Zian. Sudan's Sovereign Council President Abdel Fattah al-Burhan reiterates that no ceasefire is possible unless the rapid support forces are completely dismantled. Speaking in Port Sudan, he insists that army will not negotiate while the RSF continues the operation. With that, I say Amira Dikhili explains more.
Speaking at a memorial ceremony for the martyrs of the Sudan Liberation Movement Army, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan said options have narrowed due to the scale of bloodshed, especially in Darfur and Al-Fashir. He insisted that the disappearance of the RSF militia is the only solution, vowing retribution against what he called criminals, killers, and the malicious. He saluted the martyrs of Sudan and the battle of dignity and honor, and called on anyone willing to take up arms to join the fight against the militia. As a final message, President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council Abdel Fattah al-Burhan reaffirmed that he had informed various foreign envoys that any peace proposal leaving the Rapid Support Forces militia intact and armed remains totally unacceptable.
An ECOWAS delegation led by Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio meets Guinea-Bissau's transitional leaders to ease tensions following last week's coup. Discussions are described as constructive, and a proposal for a one-year transition will be examined at the December 14th ECOWAS summit. The Electoral Commission says it cannot publish presidential and legislative results due to missing data, while rival sides each claim victory. In Tunisia, Tunisia's Carthage Film Days announced a tribute to late Algerian filmmaker Mohamed Lakhdar Hamina, recognizing his profound impact on African and Algerian cinema. The festival, running from 13 to 20 December, will screen 3 of his landmark films, including Chronicle of the Year Fire. A master class led by his son, Malik Lakhdar Hamina, will highlight his artistic legacy, as Algerian films Ruqayya and Watchman of the Night also compete in official categories. Algeria's national team begins its FIFA Arab Cup 2025 campaign tomorrow in Doha, against Sudan, aiming for a strong start in Group 4. Coach Majid Bougara, supported by veteran Islam Slimani, Adam Munas, and Yassin Brahimi, targets qualification to the next round and hopes to retain the title won in 2021. The team faces squad absence, while Sudan arrives after ending an 8-match winless streak. The group either match pits Iraq against Bahrain this Wednesday. That's all for today's Harvest. Thank you to paying attention to the fullest. Don't go too far and keep enjoying our programs of the day until the main news at 6:45 p.m. Until then, keep enjoying your favorite radio channel, Ifriqiya FM, the voice of Africa.